We have seen all the elements to precisely define the complete algorithm of a decision tree, from the construction of the tree to the prediction. The algorithm of a decision tree is described as follows. First, a procedure is used to build the tree. This procedure takes as input a dataset and an impurity criterion. In each cell of the tree, the split maximizing an impurity reduction based on the impurity criterion is selected. This split is a best couple split direction, split position, according to the impurity reduction criterion. This step is repeated in each cell of the tree until a stopping criterion is verified, typically until each leaf contains an observation. This is the default setting of the APA parameters, which leads to a fully grown decision tree. A pruning step is then applied. It takes as input the previously constructed fully grown decision tree, the dataset, and an impurity measure. Two pruning strategies can be used, a method based on the error computed on an external dataset, reduction error pruning, or a penalty approach, cost complexity pruning. A pruned decision tree, i.e. a subtree with a smaller depth than that of the initial tree, is produced. This tree is used for prediction. To predict the value at a new input point, we put this point at the root of the tree. This point goes through the tree until it reaches one of its leaves. The tree prediction then results from a majority vote in classification or from an average in regression. Here is a summary of the process of building a decision tree. Now let's look at the advantages and disadvantages of using a decision tree. The advantages are numerous. Indeed, trees can be used in regression and classification. They allow for both continuous and discrete input data to be processed without complex preprocessing of these variables, except for nominal discrete variables, for which a special encoding, target encoding if possible, one-hot encoding otherwise, must be used. A tree is also interpretable since it is quite easy to display and understand the decision process leading to the prediction. It is enough to display the tree structure. However, be careful, if the tree contains a large number of splits on a high number of variables, it can be difficult to interpret. Trees are also invariant by monotonic transformation of each input variable. Therefore, they do not require renormalization of the data. The predictive performance does not depend on the scale of the data. Procedures within the trees are also available to deal with the problem of missing data commonly present in practice. Indeed, it is possible that not all the variables are measured for each observation. We talk about missing data in this case. Unfortunately, many algorithms require complete input data. This is not the case for decision trees, which can natively handle missing data. Trees are also computationally cheap, as the learning procedure is of the order of n/d log n, where n is the number of observations and d is the number of variables in the dataset. Trees contain a variable selection procedure, the splitting procedure, to identify the most relevant directions for prediction. Consequently, they perform well in high-dimensional context where the number of input variables is high. Unfortunately, decision trees are not very robust to changes in the dataset. A small variation in the training dataset can lead to a rather large variation in the tree structure, but also to variations in the predictive performance of the tree. This is detrimental when trying to understand and apply this method in practice. Indeed, it is common to collect more data and retrain the method based on the new data at hand. In this context, it would be preferable that the structure of the tree does not change drastically between two successive trainings. Trees are also relatively inefficient compared to other methods in terms of approximation capacity. A tree constructs a partition of the input space, so the resulting estimator is piecewise constant. Any regular function can be approximated by a piecewise constant function, but an approximation error remains in general. This error can be quite high if the function varies a lot and the partition contains few cells. Moreover, there is no regularity between the predictions in the different leaves, which means that two adjacent leaves can predict two extremely different values. In some contexts, in which we know a priori that the function is regular, for example in physical, biological problems, applying a decision tree leads to a piecewise constant prediction, which does not respect the regularity of the problem. To solve these two problems, we can turn to assembly methods based on trees, like random forest or tree boosting. This is the subject of the next module.